Welcome to another episode of repairs to a Mark 1 2500 Triumph. Now today it's not really repairs. I'm going to fit an additional fuel pump. Now a little bit of a history lesson here. This car was a bare body shell in 89, something like that. The old man got it and built it into a car and used it for motorsport. And anyway, the old man went in a 2-day event way down south in the Riverina area, and the car played up for the whole event and eventually broke down on the way home at a place called Bargo. If you want to read about that breakdown story, go to my website, Yellow Duck Motorsport, and click on breakdown stories. It's in amongst one of them. Anyway, it turned out to be a distributor cap, but during the course of the event, while they were going through one town during the event, the old man bought an electric fuel pump and fitted it to try and see if that was the problem. It wasn't, but that fuel pump is still in the car. Now that was got to be 25 years or more ago. So it's getting old. Now also because of that breakdown, it sort of made me think about it a bit, and all these cars, all my Triumphs anyway, not Toyota, have breakdown kit in them. In the boot of this car, well, come on and have a look. So as you can see here, there's a plastic box, and that's full of things like points, condenser, distributor cap, rotor button, radiator stop leak, hoses, bits and pieces, everything you might need for a breakdown that is repairable on the side of the road. And there's also a hefty toolbox that weighs 10 tonne, and so hopefully we're covered. So yeah, that's what's in the boot of this car. So that covers all the electrical stuff and plumbing stuff and what have you. In the engine bay there's an extra coil on the engine next to the other one. It's a nice brand new one, because the one I had there I gave to someone that broke down in an event, so I just put a new one on there. And so I'm going to put another fuel pump in here. Now it's not going to be completely plumbed in, it'll be there. I'll wire it all up, semi-plumb it in, and then if the fuel pump fails at some point, I'll just have to disconnect the fuel filter here and connect the new pump in and flick a switch on the dash. So that's the plan, and so let's get on with it. Before we get started on this job, the reason for it, well, in a month or so's time I'll be surveying a route from sort of Newcastle to Coffs Harbour area for the car club. They've hired a little racetrack up there that, and well, everyone doesn't want to drive on a freeway up and back. Some will, but a lot of us want to go via some back roads, and so I've got to find a route on country roads, dirt roads, over 2 days to get us up to Coffs Harbour area, and therefore this old beast needs to be reliable, because there'll be no phone reception, and on some of the roads I'm on there may not be a car go the other way at any point during any day. So I don't want to get stuck out in the middle of nowhere, hence the extra fuel pump and everything else being checked. So let's get on with this job. Alrighty then, well, this is what we're going to need to do this job, and first thing I'm going to do is bolt this physically in here. Now the battery's in the boot of this car, so I'm just going to bolt it to the old battery shelf. Now this car's a rough old ready car. It's not a show pony, so I'm not attempting to do this so it looks pretty and everything. This is all about practicality, and so anyway, let's drill a couple of holes and bolt this in. Creep up on it. Now, I'm a good Aussie bloke. Do I read instructions? Of course I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Now, I'm well aware that these electric fuel pumps are supposed to be as close to the fuel tank as possible. But, as an example here, we have an electric fuel pump that's been in this car for over 25 years in the engine bay here. Well, that's great. My TR7's in the engine bay. The dollies is under the car. Now the fuel tank in these 2500s is behind the back seat, so it's quite high up. So it gravity feeds to here anyway. So you can get away with putting the fuel pumps in the engine bay, I think. And I certainly have done for all these years. Alright, what are we going to do here? So what's going to happen if this fuel pump fails, the one that's in the car? I'm about to put a piece of hose on here and put a bolt in the end of it so it'll be blanked off. So if it breaks down the side of the road one day and I determine it's the fuel pump, we take this blank hose off, undo the hose here, and take that one off, blank it off, and put this filter into that hose there that goes off to the carburetors. And that will be a matter of flicking a switch on the dash. Don't know what the GoPros are doing, to make this fuel pump work and turn that one off. Alright, that's that blanked off. That can just sit there. This sort of pipe clamp gadget, hopefully it will stop the petrol coming out. Only the brave. Now for the trickier, if you like, the wiring it all up. For that we need a relay and a flex switch. And I need to do something about the original wiring on this current fuel pump so that in the event of that fuel pump failing, I need to be able to switch the power off to it so I can turn the power on to the other one. And the other thing I need to think about is where the power comes from. This current fuel pump has a relay here, and I'm not sure where the power ultimately comes from. But this new one, I want to make sure its power comes from somewhere separate. I think the original one comes from the ignition, so I'm going to run this one to that fuse box over there, as there's several reasons a fuel pump could fail, and one of them is simply an electrical fault. And if that turns out to be the case, I want to not have the two fuel pumps supplied by the same power supply. Defeats the purpose a bit then, doesn't it? Alrighty, let's get on with it. I need permanent power. That's over there at that fuse box. Now this is 3mm, it's 10 amp. This pump only needs 3 amps, so that should be plenty good enough bit of wire. Now which way are we going to go? I think, yeah, what I should do on this car, and what I've done on the dolly, is simply put another fuse box in it so that there's plenty more power outlets available. But that's a job for another day, if indeed I ever do. This car is absolutely full of wiring that I've done. That it's not really a recommendation. It is an old car, and there has been some electrical issues over the time. The wire sort of starts to go over the years. Copper degenerates, I don't know what happens, but it doesn't work as well as it should. So I've had to rewire a few things over the years, and consequently there's wires going everywhere, and who the hell knows what half of them do anymore. I'm getting too old to read that. Now, you might have heard me talk about going in a big rally some years ago, and my navigator, an old school friend, his eyes were not as good as they should be, so he had these magnifying glasses you buy from the chemist or whatever, yeah, a couple of dollars, and but during the course of the event he kept losing them, and when I got back and cleaned the car out, there was 2 or 3 pairs of these glasses under the seat and in the back seat and what have you. Not to mention the considerable number of orange juice bottles. Now what's needed here is some power. These relays require permanent power, switch power and power to the device, in this case the fuel pump. So I'm going to use a different coloured wire, even though it's a power wire. Just helps to have different colours. This is going to be switch power, so it's got to go into the car to a flick switch and then out to this relay. Now the ignition's on. Not sure whether that flick switch is on or not. Okay, there's permanent power there in the permanent power wire. There's power there, that flick switch must be on. So this one goes on. Let's get that turned off first. Alright, just hit that flick switch, so this one should have no power now. Hey, let's see now. Okay, permanent power is got a tag of 30 on it. Right. Can't see. That's that one. So that's this wire here. And what are we? Switch powers got 86 written on it. That's that one. That's that one. Oh, good. Oh. Now we need a wire going to the fuel pump. Now it's going to have an inline fuse in it. It's supposed to be only 3 amp. Not sure what's in it. It's bigger than 3 amp to me. More like 15 amp. I'll find one of them in due course. Alright. Sounds like the battery in that GoPro has gone flat. Alrighty then, the next job is to run a few wires into the car to put just a flick switch so that I can turn this original fuel pump off if it fails. Now it's running through a relay that's just here, and so I'll just interrupt the switch power. Should be fairly simple. Then I'll have to make a bracket for these 2 flick switches to go on. The other job that has to be done on this car is I need to swap the road tyres off to put rally tyres on, because this big trip up north is, I don't know, probably 40% dirt, but there's less chance of punches and problems if I run the rally tyres on it. So let's get on with it. Yeah, when you got old cars like this and you do so much electrical work to them over the years, you know, whether it's what I'm doing now, adding fuel pumps or electric fans, or the holes in the firewall where the wiring harness might go through the original harness, as you know, so big, and you end up putting more and more wires through until I think the dolly, it's a nightmare trying to get power into the engine bay, into the car on the dolly. Yeah, problems. Now what I'm doing here is these 2 wires go into the flick switch on the dash. I'm just going to work out which wire is switch power on the relay and pull that off, plug it onto one of these wires, and then plug this back onto the relay. That will do the job. Seeing it's a yellow wire already down there, I'll make this one yellow as well. Now it's just a matter of tidying all these wires up Then I'll have to make a bracket for those flick switches. Alrighty then, I've made a cardboardy cutout of a little brackety thing that's going to hold these flick switches in the car. These GoPro cameras are driving me nuts. They endlessly turn themselves off for some reason. Figure that way. That's roughly it. See if these will cut it. It's a bit. Now, have you ever watched a YouTube channel called Bad Obsession Motorsport, I think? It's called Project Binky. About putting my Toyota Celica's running gear into an old-shaped Mini. They make brackets. And this will be the other end of the spectrum of the sort of brackets they make. I call it side of the road engineering. My brain doesn't work very well when it comes to this sort of thing, and I always puzzle on which way to bend it, and I bend it the opposite to what it should be. It's upside down. Doesn't matter. Alright, let's see if this fits in the car. That's this bracket made. The switches fit in the holes, the screws are all drilled, it's ready to bolt in, but needs to be a coat of paint, I think. Well, I better jack this up and change the wheels. These are a Kumo made in Korea tyre. I have used them, they're not new. They seem alright. It's very hard to get 13-inch tyres these days, decent ones anyway. When it comes to sort of rally tyres, there wasn't a lot of option. Your traditional brands like Yokohama and that don't seem to make them anymore. I think it was these and some made in China ones, so I went for these ones. Alright then, what we've done for this repair or work on this old Mark 1 is to fit this additional fuel pump. It's all wired up through a relay there, which goes into the car to some switches to turn it on and off. It's teed into the main fuel line down there, and that's the current fuel pump just there. So if that fuel pump ever fails, all I have to do is on the side of the road, this fuel filter here is blanked off, so all we have to do would be to undo it here and put that on there, blank this one off, and inside the car turn the switches off. Inside the car I just have a couple of switches here. That one's on because that is the current fuel pump, and you just have to turn that one off and turn this one on if that one ever fails. So that's that job done. Alrighty then, let's take this old beast around the block, make sure everything's working. Well, that's just about it for this episode. Tune in, same duck time, same duck channel, for more mechanical mayhem on this poor old Mark 1. Bye for now.